Hey, greetings everyone from our home to yours. I hope that this finds you safe and well. Happy Sunday. Our scripture today comes from Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 through 21, where Jesus talks about himself fulfilling the law of the prophets. And I'll read that to you. And it says, "Don't think that I come to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or one stroke of a letter will pass away from the law until all things are accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never get into the kingdom of heaven." So this is another difficult passage that Jesus is teaching us and to those people on that hill that day. And there's still a lot of debate as to what Jesus was actually trying to teach in this passage. So we know that the word abolish means to do away with or to end. And we know that Jesus was saying that he did not come to put an end to the law or to do away with the law. But what does he mean by the word fulfill? If you look up the definition of the word fulfill, it means to bring to completion or reality, to achieve or realize something desired, promised, or prophesized about. So we could argue that Jesus fulfilled or brought to reality the law as promised or prophesized in the Old Testament. Okay, but what does that even mean? Well, he goes on to say that we can't even change the law by one little letter or dot or dash. And he tells us that if we break a command and or teach others to break one of those commands, that they will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever follows the commands and teaches them to follow the commands will be great in the kingdom of heaven. If you notice Jesus' word usage here, he really isn't speaking about salvation. He's not saying if you break a command, you won't be in heaven or in the kingdom of heaven. He's saying that if you break a command, that you will be the least in the kingdom of heaven. But you're still in the kingdom. Conversely, keeping all the commands and teaching others to keep all the commands will cause you to be great in the kingdom of heaven. But then Jesus throws a wrench in all of this logic and all of our line of thought by saying, if your righteousness does not surpass that of those who are teaching the law, the scribes and the Pharisees, then you're not going to get into heaven. So prior to, he said, you'll be called least or you'll be called great in the kingdom. But if your righteousness does not surpass that of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the scribes, you are not going to get into heaven. Okay, so what now? Do I follow the law and keep all the commandments in the law, or do I not follow the law? If I don't follow the law better than the teachers of the law, those religious elites of Jesus' time, the Pharisees and the scribes, then I can't go to heaven. But Jesus doesn't say that, does he? He simply says that if your righteousness does not pass that of the scribes and the Pharisees, then you'll never get into heaven. So the question then becomes, does following the law make you righteous? And the answer is no. Now, some of my friends from other religious tribes will try to tell you that you have to follow the law to be righteous. But Jesus told us that unless our righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and the Pharisees who followed the law, we'll never get into heaven. So it can't be that the law makes us righteous. So what is it, or better yet, who is it that makes us righteous? And that's Jesus. Our righteousness is given to us by God, by Jesus. And it's his righteousness that surpasses all others. And what Jesus teaches us is that all the commandments that God has given us can be summed up into two, and that's love God, love others, and of course, love yourself, which is part of the second. But keeping those commandments does not determine our salvation. It determines whether we'll be talked bad about in heaven or not. Not really talked bad about, but whether we'll be least in heaven or not. Following Jesus and being part of his righteousness is what gets us into heaven. And it's his righteousness that surpasses any righteousness that could be found here on earth. It surpasses that of the Pharisees, the Sadducees, your deacons, your pastor, your elders, The Pope, I could go on and on. His righteousness is what helps us surpass all of those. So may you go this week. Love God, love others, and don't forget to love yourself also. Grace and peace to you. God bless you.